Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Christine Westerland here. I apologize for the delay in start this morning. It seems that perhaps GoToWebinar has decided to clone itself, and Susan is on one and I'm on another. So we're going to see if we can't get ourselves kind of organized, but I'll go ahead and get started. And hopefully Susan will be able to get in with us. The issue that I'm concerned about is that we may have attendees on both. This has happened one other time, and again, my profound apologies because this is a celebration, woohoo! And we love celebrations. So let's go ahead and move forward. I'm also going to be tending to Susan and I are emailing ourselves back and forth. Uh, so we'll just go again and again get started. And I regretfully, Susan is not here yet, but let's hope that she gets on. So, but it's a ROMAbration. It is a stories of success and really why community action matters. I'm going to blow my kazoo if it lets me. I've got my party beads on, and so let's go ahead and get ourselves started. Just want to give props to DCEO for supporting this collaboration webinar with us here at ICA. We appreciate their support throughout this process, and soon we will be actually engaging in the 2020 contract, so we will have a go back to our regular webinar series the second or third Wednesday of each month on Wednesdays. In which we will be offering content that all of you need or you've requested. So we really want to move forward in this. So here we are. If Susan can get on, oh my goodness. Here is Susan. She's been a valiant and gracious partner in this endeavor. Again, I know some of you have heard the story that I saw that she had registered for the first one 13 some weeks ago. And I reached out to her and said, hey, do you want to do this with me? I knew that she was working on renewing her implementer credential, and I thought this might be a way for all of us to practice Roma together. So as is our custom, we will begin with the promise of community action. Community action changes people's lives, embodies the spirit of hope, and improves communities and makes America a better place to live. We care about the entire community, and we are dedicated to helping people help themselves and each other. So here we are, we're using Roma, we're connecting success. Yahoo, things are fabulous. Just give me one moment here. I'm just checking to see if Susan is on. I don't see her yet. I don't hear her. So we are taking this opportunity to really connect our success, to really understand why is it that Roma is so important. It's because it's all of us together. We have to use Roma. And I know by saying that, you're like, we have to. Yes, we do. It is actually mandated. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a few moments. But what's so important about this connecting success piece is that we really have to think about Roma across the entire agency, how the success of our customers also means the success of our agencies, the success of our network, and how we all work in collaboration together. We've talked about the broader scope of community action across the United States and territories, and this is why we need to tell that story of success. And I would say that it is even now more important than ever to really share that story, to connect those dots. We've been very fortunate during this time of pandemic to receive some additional funding. They've increased, the individuals that we do serve to 200% of poverty. That does present its challenges, but that also demonstrates that there is trust. They trust us to, as an entire network, to have that capacity to reach out and to connect individuals towards seeking their own success. So I just want to take a little bit of time here to do some reflective practice. I think this is really important for us to understand that the promise of freedom by our founders was a promise for some, not just for all. And I think that's a really heavy thing to think about. We are witnessing a time of social pandemic as well as a health pandemic. And I think it's a time for us to really dive into this work, what it means to us now, and to understand there are embedded inequities and inequalities in our systems and our policies, our structures, and law. And community action is on the forefront of providing equity. That is a key piece of the work that we do. We have to remember that community action was created by the Johnson administration, but is truly rooted in the work of the Kennedy administration and influenced by events in the 1930s, the 1940s, the 1950s. So we have to think about the Kennedy administration, the work of Michael Harrington, who was an author. He wrote The Other America, which really revealed that there was significant poverty in the United States. His book focused on Appalachia, but also brought forth issues of poverty across the country. And then Robert Lampman, who was head of President Kennedy's Council of Economic Advisors, was also a key influencer in really bringing in a level of structure into the federal government in order to address inequalities, particularly when looking at poverty. We know that community action started as a grassroots initiative, that community leaders were empowered to take local action to address unique needs. And in many ways, that is still the case. Although over the years, and we'll see kind of the transition over the years of what happened, but we also have to understand that really that is where the heart of community action is in that grassroots, that we do have to learn about the unique needs of our community. That's why we do community needs assessments and community action plans. That's why it's so important for us to dive into that idea of really moving forward with these planning processes, embedding that Roma cycle, so we can really do that work at the grassroots level. The tripartite board structure brings in the voice of the low income in leading change, and that's a key piece of it as well. That is what's so important because we don't know what the needs are. We may have some idea, but we need to hear from the voice of the low income in order to build effective programs, do effective planning, and to ensure that we're providing effective services. Hang on, I've lost my mouse. So through the years, there's been some interesting growing pains in community action. We know, of course, community action was started in August of 1964, but the Vietnam War was also raging as well, and U.S. intervention began to grow deeper. And we know that attention was shifted away really from many of the sweeping social changes that happened at the beginning of President Johnson's Great Society. One thing that happened in 1967, and it's come up again in conversation just in the past couple of months, is the Kerner Report. And the Kerner Report was commissioned by President Johnson. It's named for Otto Kerner, who was the governor of Illinois then. And he had other national or other state governors be involved in this report, but it was to really examine poverty and inequality. And it came out again in 1967, or excuse me, yes, 67. And it was refreshed again 50 years later by John A. Powell with the Other and Belonging Institute. And what they discovered in 2017 is that many of the recommendations, particularly around housing, community engagement, and employment, simply had not been addressed. And that's unfortunate. So it's an opportunity. We've had these conversations. This information has been in front of us, but yet it's because we have other influences in the work that we do. So we really also, as community action matured, and I'm using the air quotes when I say mature, is that there were also shifting perspectives, that we changed our words very profoundly during President Ford's administration, that we moved away from action to being service providers. That was a demonstration of program adolescence and how things look very different. CSBG in 1981 really changed the way that we interacted um, with our customers and with our funders, because that's when it became the power shifted to the states. We also have Newt Gingrich's contract with America during the Clinton administration, which ended up being somewhat of empty promises, but it did save community action. Then we move further into the Clinton administration and we have the Government Performance and Results Act. This was really an opportunity to begin profound and deep reporting on performance and results. And that shifted almost every federal agency, including the community action. Roma came in during that era, the ushered in during that era, and that's, we've been talking about that for the last 12 weeks. This is our 13th week. We also know that many presidential administrations, including the current one, zeroed out CSBG. Fortunately, we do have robust support from both sides of the aisle, so we typically have seen that money be restored. But that's always a time of tension for us, at a time of, are we telling our story correctly? And then President Obama challenged us in his first State of the Union speech, and we rose to that challenge. That's why we have the organizational standards. That's why we have Roma Next Generation. That's why we have OMB clearance for the work that we do. And now, of course, we're impacted by COVID-19 and how that has shifted some of our practices that we have at the agency, and how important it is for us to really think through some of the processes that we are currently engaged in. I'm just looking to see if maybe Susan's been able to join via as a participant. I don't see her name up here. This makes me sad that she's not here. So Roma really, in many respects, was a game changer, right? I mean, we went away from counting noses as our old way to a new way in which we were counting change, looking at change, examining change in all of its iterations and forms. Was it positive change? Was it negative change? Did it stay neutral? What are some of those elements of change? Is it incremental or big change? So again, this is the thing that we have to really focus on in this work that we do. Counting noses counts, especially as we know in proxy outcomes. So if you know that seniors are receiving, whether it's a delivered or a congregate meal, that means you can count that as an outcome, that their nutrition needs have been satisfied. We know that, but we don't want to overuse that. We also want to know that it's important that what changed, again, that's the question that we're constantly asking, what changed? So it does become this deeper focus on results. That means we had to shift our practices. We had to change the way that we interacted with customers, the way that we gather data from them, improve our data collection. And it's also a willingness to use mission throughout the entire agency. Again, these mission statements, we don't do it just because it's fun for us, or it's a place for us to check something off of a box somewhere. It's because we use mission because it's important, it's valuable, and it tells us what we can do. It tells us how can we be structured to make this work happen? How is it that we're meeting the needs of people who experience low income in our communities that we serve? So in order to do that, I think we need to throw it back a little bit. And there might be a couple of you on this call that might remember the Rensselaerville Institute. That is something when Roma first started back in the day. I heard about this organization. It's a think tank. It still exists. It's in upstate New York. And how is it that we were able to kind of launch this conversation and then now all this deeper work that we do focused on Roma? Well, here are the kind of the leading principles, if you will, that were put forward by the Rensselaer Institute in, I think, 1998, if I remember correctly. This is from the document. There's another slide about it from this famous document. Jim Masters wrote it. Some of you may know his name. Peeling the Onion is what this is from. And so just look at this list. And really, I think we can still say this list is very fresh for us. that results do matter to everybody, program participants, staff, and funders. Again, it's kind of the Drucker questions in the Roma curriculum kind of go a little bit deeper into this, but this is really what it is at the end of the day. Likewise, partnerships are needed to produce the most results. It takes a joint commitment to success. We know that we don't get enough money to do this work alone. We have to have partners, cultivate those collaborations in our communities that we serve. And that's why we have tripartite boards, so we can do this deeper partnership. That we have to think that new concepts and new words are needed to lead to new thinking. And I will say, I think that's absolutely right. This is almost a mantra of mine. And I will also just point out that this is a time of great learning for us right now. Boy, we have done so many adaptive practices and shifts in the work that we do. And it's amazing to see how we've been able to adapt. It's because new concepts and new words have been introduced to us. People are the single most important piece of the whole equation. It's people, not plans or money, that get things done. That's absolutely right. That's wisdom. And I think sometimes we forget about that people, we are not only in the people business, but we are doing this work. So it's important that we lift ourselves up to really connect ourselves in. That planning and doing are inseparable. That's absolutely true. We have planning and implementation on the Roma cycle. That's that doing piece of it. And if you've planned something, you got to do it, right? I mean, come on, that's what we do. That action, change, and learning are keys to success. Always, always. We have to take action. We have to have a willingness to change and shift. And we're learning this whole time whenever we're doing this work. And then finally, and I think it's the most important piece of this whole entire list, is that success means being results focused. That's the agency, being results focused. That is a success. Again, we're not having the expectation that everybody is successful, but we have that opportunity. And Susan, are you on? If you are, I can't hear you. I see her here. Susan? All right. Well, if hopefully, Susan, you'll be able to get on here. Okay. So this is also updated from Jim Masters' Peeling the Onion. This is kind of the era of reporting, if you will. And you remember that I referred to adolescence a little bit ago. So we know what happened in 1964 in August, right? Johnson signs the Economic Opportunity Act in the Rose Garden at the White House. From 1964 to 1967, funding came directly from the feds, and you do your own thing. In many ways, that was kind of genius. In many ways, it probably wasn't. So and I would have loved to have witnessed this. In 1967 to 1974, that's when grant applications really started. They actually became formalizing the process. Funding still came directly from the federal government. From 1975 to 1979, standards of effectiveness were kicked in. From 1979 to 1981, that's where a grantee performance management system was used. And I don't believe that was used universally across the United States. I think just some of the states used that. Again, adolescence. Want to remind you of that word, adolescence. 1981 to 1991, that's when, remember, the Community Service Block Grant during the Reagan administration was launched in 1981. Ronald Reagan believed, as do most Republicans, that you have a smaller federal government and you give power to the states. That's when that shift was made. And CSBG started, and state office. We now have the state CSBG office. That is the phrase or term that's used universally across the United States. From 1991 to 2000, there was a development of and a shift to a new approach, ROMA. Again, Government Performance and Results Act. We know now in 2001 to 2015 that there was a mandated use of ROMA. That is where the IS report became part of the work that we did. We've always been reporting our information up to DCEO. That's why we have the STAR system in place. And then from 2015 to now, we have the CSBG annual report, which replaced the IS report. We have Roma Next Gen, which includes the theory of change. We have organizational standards, so we have standards that we have to organize ourselves around. And we do this work because it's important for us. And if I look at this list, I see a maturity. I see opportunity. I see where we've made major changes to the work that we do. So we have to celebrate that and applaud the work that we do. And I believe right now, based on my understanding, that where we're at right now, we're in the best possible position to tell our stories and to really understand that we are successful. Again, where is my kazoo? I guess I should try it again. All right, Susan is on, but she can't talk. Oh, dear Susan, I wish I could help because your microphone is lit up. So we want to celebrate success. We want to, because now we know that success means that we're results focused. Success doesn't mean that everybody wins. Success means that we're looking at the actual result. So this is, wait for it, audience participation time. I'm going to unmute everybody. And you can unmute yourself using your dashboard at any time, but we have questions for you.
Can you hear me now, Christine?
I can hear you, Susan. Hooray!
Oh, boy.
Jeez.
What a time I had. Thank you for covering for me. I don't know, everything was not supported. My phone, my Chromebook, and my desktop all said the webinar was not supported, but here I am. I don't know what happened.
I'm delighted that you're here. I
truly apologize.
Yeah, I know, and yeah, you're getting some yay Susans of all the days to have problems. I get you. Thanks, Byron, for chiming in here.
Thank you guys. Sorry, so sorry.
That's all right. I hope that I did your slides okay. Not nearly as good as you. But again, I have my kazoo, so I'm celebrating. So Susan, I'll kind of let you talk about this a little bit if you want to.
Slide 12?
Yeah, even though slide 12 is technically mine, I'm gifting you slide 12.
You're gifting it to me. Okay. How do you know if you are results focused? Well, that goes back to the planning stage. When you work on your outcomes, you know that you achieve your outcomes if they're well written. If you know that there's going to be a change or possibly a maintenance of a situation, for example, not being kicked out of your home or not being homeless for the night. So you know you are results focused when you reach your goals and your goals are good outcomes. Do you use SMART goals? Well, I know in my program I do. I run the adult literacy program, and we have everybody on intake sets 3 goals. One is a standardized test increase, such as reading level or math level. One is a civic duty, such as registering to vote or voting or volunteering for the community or signing up to be on a board, for example, a nonprofit board. And then one is one that's really not quantifiable other than completion, and that would be things like getting an apartment or losing weight, something like that. So those are SMART goals. They are measurable and they are achievable. And what tools do you use? In my office, we use standardized tests called the TABE, among others. And then also just a discussion, just talking to the people, getting, an interview kind of thing is how you can establish whether or not your clients are reaching their goals. And then share an achievement in which you played a role. For my part, I'm very pleased to say that 2 of my families have become families of distinction. because of their work that they've done, partially through my office by learning English or by gaining skills in reading and math, or as well as other services that CEFS offers. And I'm very proud of those families, and I'm very proud that I could be a part of their achievements. So Christine, I cannot see anybody's comments. If anyone has something else to share about how they know if they are truly results focused and not task focused. It's really easy to think if I meet all my deadlines my boss gives me, I'm doing my job, but really our job isn't to do the tasks. Our job is to make changes. Our job is to facilitate families becoming self-sufficient or stable.
Hey,
So
Susan,
is anybody saying anything?
not yet.
Okay.
So this is a great time for Susan. I think really you gave some beautiful responses to these questions. So we'd like to hear from you. So if you want to use your dashboard, you can either speak or you can type in, and I will read off what you share.
Oh,
We want to hear from you. Again, remember, success means that you're results focused, right? So that means that success, again, I know I'm being repetitive, I apologize, but I think it's the speaker axiom is that you have to repeat things at least 3 times. That
yes, the row in Roma is results oriented.
Exactly. So again, the result doesn't always have to be a positive. I think that we oftentimes equate when we use the word success that something has to be changed for the good or for the better. But really what that means is that the change is being observed and you've measured it and you're recording it and then reporting on it. So does anybody want to share?
Share about your achievements. Come on, toot your own horn. Tell us something fabulous that your agency facilitated.
We all know you're doing great work. We do. I'll talk a little bit about, one thing that, it comes as no surprise to anybody listening. One thing that I do is really try to promote Roma throughout the state. It's, my my role in Roma came to me as a bit of a surprise. I started at the association in 2001, and I became a Roma trainer in 2001. What was interesting about that is that I knew of community action when I worked for the state of Illinois. I had visited some community action agencies, especially working in what was then the IHEAP, now LIHEAP program. So I had some awareness about it, but I had no idea what any of this meant. And I joined the first national boot camp for Roma, and it was a full body immersion into understanding community action from these amazing leaders in community action. And what an opportunity that was. And I still can picture myself sitting in that classroom, a little dumbstruck and a little befuddled at times. But I realized with all the great passion in that room, I became fully immersed in Roma and realized and saw what a great opportunity it gave to all of us in community action. So now we're almost 20 years later. We have 32 implementers in the state of Illinois. We have 6 trainers. All these trainers are available if you want to have us come visit you. But we want all of you to understand that telling the story of success is really the goal of Roma. That's what we want you to do. We know you can do it. We know you are doing it. Well, that wasn't inspirational enough, I guess. No.
I guess not. No one wanted to celebrate success, or perhaps they're having technical difficulties. I think I'll stick with that.
That could be. That's probably what it is. Yeah. Well, that is it. I will say it happens every once in a while on these platforms, and we can't control them. Okay, Melissa has shared. When the pandemic hit, our local PADS shelter closed, and our homeless needed shelter fast. We housed them in hotels, and because they had their own room and shower, we were able to help them focus on permanent housing and getting them resources in one place rather than a shelter that changes location every day. This led us to house our homeless customers. Well, that is worth celebrating, Melissa. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, and permanently, she adds, permanently house again, let me just repeat that, to lead us to house our homeless customers permanently. 3 exclamations, and it gets a kazoo. I think that's wonderful, Melissa. Thank you for sharing that, and absolutely. She goes on to say it was like having them. It was like having them in a hotel helped them focus better. That's absolutely right. You take away some of those other major life stressors and you can focus better. Beautifully said.
Awesome.
Hey, Byron says, although not in the same capacity, we are able to still serve our clients and customers with our agency services. Absolutely.
Good.
And I think that's awesome. I think that for all of us, this pandemic threw us for quite the loop. I think I'm right in saying that.
I believe you are.
Yes. And Byron goes on to say during the COVID-19, absolutely. And we really had to rethink how it is that we do things, how we engage, how we work. Many of you know I'm beaming to you from my sunroom, or I'm either in my sunroom or in my kitchen. Doing all this work. I've tried to minimize the clutter from my work, which drives my husband crazy. Just putting that out there. But here we are, and we're making do, and we're making it happen. And I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I'm grateful for all of you for having a willingness to not only participate with us in this webinar, but hopefully to deepen your learning and your engagement in Roma. Anyone else? Thank you again to Melissa and Byron.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Well, we will move forward here. Let me redock.
On to maximum feasible participation, I think. Is that our next
That's
slide?
the next one.
It is. Outcome 3.2, people with low incomes who are connected to the community networks improve their social capital through maximum feasible participation. We are committed to fighting poverty. We tell our stories well, and we effectively measure our work and its impact. Roma helps us do that.
And again, want to repeat, this is such a difficult and busy time for us, and we're learning. We're going to still learn. We do this by using. It means applying and using Roma principles. They have the potential of streamlining your work. They truly do. I know that it was last week that Susan talked about how it clarifies your work, that it doesn't add to your work. If you embed the Roma cycle into your thinking, that means applying and using Roma principles now have the potential of streamlining your work. You're working that cycle. It's so important that you do that. I know that I think last week I talked about my goofy way of using Roma even at home, in which we do all of our life and meal planning around using a logic model. Don't tell my husband that we do that.
No doubt your husband is a full supporter of Roma and all things Roma.
He is. He doesn't know it, but yet he is.
I like your style.
Yeah. Everything is an undercover operation. And that's not how it should be at the agency, though. I mean, Roma should be it should be overt, not covert. But again, I just want you to remember, and we really truly appreciate just how difficult this time is, and so many things are changing. It's whiplash. All of us have, I think, emotional whiplash and physical whiplash from many of the things that we're seeing and experiencing during this time. So again, we empathize with you. We want to help you. We support you, and we love you. And it's important that that we share this opportunity of learning together.
Okay, the Roma cycle. Let's take a look at it, which you probably haven't memorized, but round and round, it's never done. And really, they're not necessarily distinct and separate steps, although they certainly can be, but they're not necessarily, because we assess every day. We don't wait until that next step before we assess. We do it every day. We plan every day. We achieve every day. But what this graphic does helps us to determine that we have a dedicated and organized strategy to make changes in our communities and its people. You see that this is already the work you do. Roma just puts it in a nifty little graphic. What a great document for training new hires to show them what makes your agency work, that we've got steps planned out, and we do you know, plan every day and implement every day, but yet we've got our documents that we have to complete, the evaluation documents, the assessment documents. And so it is both a continuous cycle every day and through the fiscal year and probably through the quarters as well. So you already do this and you know you do it well. What this does is just visualizes it, gives you a graphic for it.
And Susan, I have would strongly suggest, should you decide to get a tattoo about Roma, this is the one you should get. Just putting it
How
out
do
there.
you know I don't already have one?
Well, that's a good point. Yes, we'll talk about this later, and we can talk about this in person at some point.
I'll show it to you.
Okay, awesome. And once again, here it is. It's the theory of change. We've seen this in I know we've had the cycle in almost every webinar. I know that the theory of change has been in several of them as well. Again, we have Roma Next Generation. That's what I find so exciting about this work, is that community action, just like other systems, are evolving and learning as we move forward. Again, this is a program that is still in its adolescence. And I stress that so many times because we are still learning and gaining. Social Security, for example, started during the Franklin Roosevelt administration back in the 1930s. It was an answer to elderly individuals who had no support in the aftermath of the Great Depression. So Social Security was started. It's not a perfect system, but it's a system that has really worked to support seniors, and they're working to improve it all the time. And that's exactly what community action is as well. And remember that in the work that we do, we hold fast onto core principles. And that's what I think that's a reason for celebration too, is that we have across the country the diversity of this network, but yet we all embrace these core principles, that we do recognize the complexity of the issues of poverty and how it is unique to our communities and the individuals that we serve, that we know that family stability is a foundation for economic security, that we are always advocating for systemic change. Now more than ever are we advocating for that. And we know that we have to leverage state, federal, and community resources. And what a time of leveraging for all of you. Again, community action is the trusted agent in your communities to do so much. I get Google News alerts for community action agencies, and my inbox is filled with all this funding that is being directed, whether it's supporting a food outreach or some other community initiative. I'm seeing the names of your agencies pop up in my newsfeed every day, and I'm so proud of the work that you're doing, and so proud to be a part of the network so I can learn about what it is you're doing. So again, we have this theory of change. I'm going to suggest, as I've suggested in past webinars, this is a great opportunity for you to think about what your theory of change is. Again, reflecting on what you're learning during this time. How did you shift so quickly? And it's because you're meeting your missions. Again, your theory of change is alive. Now let's just all kind of write it all down and see what it looks like later.
We do celebrate the people of community action and the results that you make happen. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, especially those of you who have stuck with us for all 13 webinars in this series. If you couldn't make them all, they are accessible on AACA's YouTube channel. For any questions, comments, or clarifications, please contact Christine, me, or your favorite local Roma implementer.
Yes, we do celebrate you. It is exciting. Again, and Susan, again, thank you so much for being a part of this with me. This has been a fun journey with
Yes.
you. I have learned so much from you about really boots on the ground Roma implementation, and I really appreciate that. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And wow, just wow. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me join you on this. It has been fun. I hope people now aren't afraid of Roma, or they don't think it's sometimes people are a little bit intimidated by it because it sounds like more work or more of philosophy, but really you already do it. It just makes it clear and simple, and we've got graphics to make it a little more interesting. So don't be afraid of Roma. You already do it. If you do good work, and I know you do Roma.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And and again, I've been Romanized. My coworkers will tell you that I am the queen of the matrix. P.S. It's really a logic model. Um, and just again, because it's an articulation of what it is that we're trying to accomplish. Again, because we're looking at results, always, and to be very mindful of that. So we encourage you, if you haven't had a Roma training at your agency, call us. We'd be more than happy to come see you or offer training to you remotely. That is currently something that a design of that is currently underway. We're looking forward to see what that might look like. I told Barbara Mooney that we have taken apart the entire curriculum and have tried to provide almost all of it in a webinar series, and we're not alone across the country. From what I understand, many states have taken this on as well. So we encourage you to understand Roma, to talk Roma, to when you see Susan and I somewhere, or if you want to reach out to us, please do so. We'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. Oh, do I need to go back the slide?
No, I
No?
was just going to say our contact information is up. Please ask me questions. And if there's something you don't get or you don't understand or you're not enthusiastic about it, let us know. We're happy to talk and discuss and train either remotely or when it's reasonable to be face to face.
Yes, please contact us. We're more than happy to have a conversation with you. And I know that I've said that after the end of each one of these, there is a survey that gets launched. Tell us what you think. Tell us what we need to do more of. Tell us what maybe if we pick this up again in a few months, it depends on what happens. What should we talk about then? Because there's a lot more that we could really talk about. We have just dived into the basics.
Yeah, so if there's something you don't quite understand or something that you expected us to address that we didn't, please let us know.
Absolutely. So Susan, again, thank you so much for being on this journey with me.
Thank you, and thank you to all our participants. You are appreciated.
Wait. Where's the dancing?
Oh, that's right. Gina, you were supposed to do the dancing.
Gina.
Oh,
Gina,
no.
I am on top of my desk dancing, Gina.
There.
Glad my camera doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. But blame it on technical difficulties, Susan.
Absolutely. I blame everything on technical difficulties.
Yeah, and Gina's a Roma trainer from DuPage County. Just putting it out there.
She's a trainer from DuPage. So yeah, ask Gina to come and tell you all about Roma. She loves it.
She does. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this. Again, as Susan mentioned, this will be recorded and put on the ICA YouTube channel, hopefully within the next couple of days. It's usually me forgetting to put it in Dropbox, but it eventually makes its way there. So again, I appreciate, Susan, you just once again, deep appreciation and applause for you for doing this with me. Oh, I saw something pop up here. Yep. Byron says, many thanks. Stay safe and well. And back at you, Brian and Byron and everybody else. Stay safe, be well, and we hope to see you soon. Take good care, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thanks
Bye,
for joining
ladies.
us.
Bye-bye.